Anytime.
This preacher was called to a little country church, and first thing he did when he went out there was to ask for a meeting of the deacons. When the deacons had all gathered, well, he asked them if they could buy a chandelier. And he went on out of the building, and when they discussed it and all, they voted it down. So the next time he saw his deacons, he said, why in the world would you vote down buying a chandelier? He said, well, in the first place, can't anybody spell it, so how could they order it? In the second place, if we had one, couldn't anybody play it? And the third place, what we really need is light.
Go.
And I was walking around the block this morning and met my neighbor. And I said, hey, Bill, did you leave, I forgot. I was out walking this morning, and I met my neighbor, and I said, hey, Bill, did you wake up grouchy this morning? And he says, no, I just let her sleep. Hi. This elderly gentleman that was celebrating his 50th wedding anniversary and his 80th birthday. And so the press came and they wanted to know what he attributed this to. One person being married for 50 years and being 80 years of age. And he says, well, my wife and I made a pact that any time we got mad at each other, I'd pick up my hat and walk around the block. And you'd be surprised what 50 years of outdoor exercise would do for you. Oh. Let's see, there was, another joke?
Sure.
Okay, this man carried his wife to a psychiatrist, and he says, what's her name over there? Thinks I don't pay enough attention to her. And so he thinks I neglect her. So the psychiatrist talked to the wife for just a little while, and he put his arm around her, and he pulled her over, and he kissed her real big on the cheek. And the wife was just beaming. And so the psychiatrist said to the husband, he says, now this is what she needs, and she needs it every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. And the man says, well, I can bring her in, Doc, on Tuesday and Thursday, but I play golf on Saturday. These two guys were walking down the street, and they came along two long lines of people. And so this was at a time when they would have the government was giving away things, and so they said, boy, they must be giving away something great here. So you get in that line, and I'll get in this line. And they stood there a little while. It was too slow for them. So one of them said to the other one, says, you run up that side of the line and grab something and go home, and I'll run up this side of the line and grab something and go home. So they did. They got home. One said to the other, says, what'd you get? He says, I got some Swiss cheese. Well, how do you know it's Swiss cheese? He says, 'cause it's got holes in it. So what'd you get? He says, I got some nacho cheese. What you mean, man? I never heard of nacho cheese. He said, well, it's nacho cheese all right, 'cause everybody there says, come back here, man, them nacho cheese. This preacher went to a new place, and he got up in the pulpit, and he said, afterward, he said, I'd like to have a meeting of the board. And so the first thing after the service was over, this stranger was the very first one up there in the front of the church. So the preacher said, sir, I think you misunderstood. I said I wanted to have a meeting of the board. He says, if there's anybody here more bored than I am, I want to meet him. Okay, the preacher went to a church, and he was trying out. And the first time he preached for 10 minutes. And boy, the congregation really liked that. So they said, well, let's get him back next Sunday. So the next Sunday, he came back and he preached 25 minutes. Well, they really liked that, because that's about the length of sermon that they really appreciated. So they decided that they'd call this preacher to come and preach for them. So they called him, and the very first Sunday after he got there, he preached an hour and 35 minutes. So they said to the preacher, says, what in the world happened when you came the first time? You just preached 10 minutes. The next time you just preached 25 minutes. Said, then this time, says, you preach an hour and a half. He said, well, the first time I had just had my teeth pulled and my mouth was sore. The second time I just got my new teeth and my mouth was still sore. Said, today I had my wife's teeth and I just couldn't quit talking.
There was a young college student who was out for the summer vacation, and he decided he would try to earn him some extra money. So he was going door to door, and he found a young man who said he needed his porch painted. And he told him, he said, the paint is in the back, you just go ahead and do it. So the young man came back 4 hours later, and he had paint all over him. Obviously he was a good painter. And he told the man, I finished my painting. He said, what about my money? He says, well, $10 an hour, that'll be $40. What do you say? He said, okay. He said, by the way, mister, he said, that's not a Porsche, it's a Jaguar.
Yeah, I read that one before. There are two ways that you can tell when you're getting older. One of them is you begin to forget things. And I forgot what the other one was.
You're not that old, are you?
No, that's what it said. That's the joke. Let's see. There's another one that, if I can just think how it was. Yeah. I'm learning to live with my arthritis. My false teeth fit me fine. I'm getting used to my bifocals, but I sure do miss my mind.